Hello, scrappers, recyclers, investors, and all those who are interested in this fascinating world of scrapping and recycling. It's great to see you again. This is Shark Scrapper Live, where every Sunday afternoon we talk about things that are going on in the precious metals market, industrial metal market, tariffs and rules and laws and business tips, just all kinds of stuff around our fascinating world of scrap and recycling. It is great to be here with you. We've got a really fun show lined up today. Let's see, who do we have in the house? We've got Scrapping Irish. Great to have you here. Brian Selden, Roger at CU Scrapping, Electronic Scrapper, William Wallert, and Richard Holbert. Great to have everybody here. Now, I am using a slightly different setup, so please let me know if we're okay for sound and visuals. Um, Had some weird things go on this week, and I had to make some changes at the last minute, and I wasn't able to test anything out. So hopefully, we're doing okay. Patrick Williams, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. All righty, we are going to, and Waste Mike is here, David Filley's here. Great to have everybody on board. Looking forward to having a lot of fun. All right, so let's get right into our precious metal for today. We are talking about the Oops, let's put that button there and do that button there. There we go. So we're talking about silver, and boy, howdy, do we love silver. Once again, I need to remind everybody that I am not sponsored by APMEX. I get no compensation from APMEX. They are just one of the places that I use, like Kitco and JM Bullion, to buy and sell my precious metals. I always recommend that a person hold a certain amount of precious metals in their physical form in their portfolio. And I say in their physical form as in rounds or bars that you actually have in your physical possession. The paper certificates, if they cashed in all the paper certificates, there wouldn't be enough gold and silver to cover all those. And if you let somebody else store your gold and silver in their vault somewhere, well, again, you don't actually control it. When you have that round or that bar in your possession, you can take it down to your local coin shop, your pawn shop. You can go online and sell it back to these places like AppMex or to other collectors. Gives you a lot of flexibility, gives you a lot of control. So that's why I always recommend that you have some of it in your portfolio in its physical form. Silver is at 33.36, and that's down 1.3% over the 3 day haul. And we can see what happened here. It was kind of going down, and then we just crashed. And now we're doing this, trying to find another level here. And, we'll kind of see what's going on here with silver. If we look at the week, we see again we had this. Let's get a little thicker line here. You can see we had got to do that. We had a lot of volatility going on here during the week, and even in this plateau area, we still had quite a bit of volatility going on through the week. So what's going on here? If we take a look at the month, well, it smooths out a lot of the jaggedness. But again, for looking at a monthly view, this is again a bit of volatility going on here. Now you could kind of say, well, the later part of the week wasn't that bad, but we saw in the more detailed view the ups and down that was going on. I apologize. My throat is a bit hoarse today for some reason. Let's take a look at the 1 year chart. That's going to smooth out, but you see that we've still got quite a bit of volatility going on. In and amongst all of these short term ups and downs, we can see that we had even longer terms. I mean, if you take away even all the jaggedness, you can see that there was still a lot of volatility going on with silver. And that is reflective of the rather tumultuous year that we've had going on as the new administration came in and the markets were adjusting to things that are going on. You get that kind of reaction, ups and downs, and silver in particular has the double whammy because not only is it a precious metal, but it is also an industrial metal. And the industrial metal applications of it can really have an impact on what happens price wise. Let's pop over to the trading economics chart here. And again, we're looking at the 1 year, and we're going to bring up the candlesticks real quick. And we're going to zoom into, let's see, here we are from basically January on. And you see we're generally climbing here, although we do have some volatility going on, generally climbing. Uh, Silver drops off here March 28, April 3rd. We all know now what happened. These were the big tariff announcements. Silver crashes, which is kind of weird, right? You'd think that with all that turmoil, silver would have done much better. Of course, because of its industrial uses as well as its precious metal uses, you have this drop off, and then we start climbing back up again here from around April 7th through the present. All right, so let's go back to our line chart so that we can discuss this a bit more. We have a bit of discussion here from the trading economics folks about what's happening, the strength of the U.S. dollar, pressures from that causes pressure on dollar-denominated items. We have the trade war discussion. We have China saying what's going to happen, what they're going to do. The long and short of it is there's a lot of turmoil, and while that may have been good for gold, silver did okay, but not as well as gold has done. Let's take a look here at our forecast, and we can see once again, I will draw your attention to this part of the chart right here. So essentially, what the folks at Trading Economics are saying is that we are going to see silver continue to climb. We're going to be up in the 33.9 by the end of the quarter and 36.60 sometime in the next 12 months. So there's some good news there for silver. And one of the things that I like about silver as an investment is it's relatively inexpensive. So folks like us can purchase silver, and we're not taking quite as much risk on being able to make some money on it later on down the line. Now, while we're talking about silver, I thought it'd be interesting to just remind ourselves about the industrial applications of silver, because I found it very interesting that. Well, let me give you the numbers because this really was interesting. So, last year, 2024, 680.5 million ounces of silver were used for industrial applications, not just for investment, but industrial applications. That's 50% of the demand signal for silver. That should help you understand why silver didn't just climb the way gold did with all of the, with people seeking investment in safe haven precious metals, because there's a lot of industrial use in silver. And so with the turmoil going on, that had that impact on silver. Now, to give you an idea of that, how much we're talking about in virgin silver or silver that comes from mined ore, in 2022, the world's mines produced 836.7 million ounces. In 2023 and 2024, it was about the same, maybe a little bit less. So our mines are producing around 836.7 million ounces. In the recycled silver, in 2022, we produced 176.9 million ounces. So, folks like us, recycling silver through however we recycle it, selling it to places that sell it on to other mills and things, accounted for 176.9 million ounces, and that was pretty much flat for 23 and 24. You can see that silver is kind of flat going on here. The demand signal in 2024, electrical and electronics industry consumed 710.9 million ounces in 2024. Of that 710.9 million ounces, photovoltaics, so solar cells, accounted for 232 million ounces. So you've got a pretty big slug of silver that's being used as part of uh, the solar panels and the solar voltaics, um, the shifting, those kind of things. And you can understand then why there's a lot of volatility going on, because under the previous administration there was a big push for green energy, solar cells. The new administration going in the opposite direction. So will people replace solar cells as they age? Is there going to be a continued demand signal for solar cells? And how is that going to play into the industry? And I think in certain circumstances, certain consumers, whether they're industrial or just the basic people, have found that there are applications where it makes good sense to have solar capability. In other cases, maybe not. There's this, will they need more silver? And that's why we're seeing the prices kind of going up and down and having such volatility. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is you look at all of the industries that use silver. Now, we've already talked a little bit about the electrical and electronics, but in a little more detail, you have what some of you really love to collect, the electrical contacts. Circuit breakers and other switches, solenoids that have those little dollops of silver. A lot of us out there love to collect those things. I know there's some of you out there that just think they're great, and that's a big part of the use of silver. Silver is used in some semiconductors, in PCBs, printed circuit boards. Of course, we know that they're used in capacitors, MLCCs. Even the newer MLCCs do still have silver in them. Membrane switches, conductive adhesives. We talked about solar panels, catalysts. Now, the interesting thing about using silver in catalysts for plastics and resins and textiles is catalysts don't get consumed. So, they reuse catalysts. It's used in medicine, which actually brings um, the that old phrase "born with a silver spoon in their mouth." There's a reason why that phrase suggests that someone is going to be more successful than others. Yes, wealthier families, especially in the older days, would literally feed their children with a silver spoon. But silver has antibiotic capabilities. And so, because silver has antibiotic principles, young children who were fed with the silver spoon would tend to be healthier than poorer children that weren't fed with a silver spoon. And so, therefore, they would have a better success possibilities in life. So, yes, the phrase "silver spoon in their mouth" did deal, with the wealth of the family that a child was born into, but it also goes back and speaks to the health or medical benefits of silver and why silver is used in certain medical applications. We also know it's used in electric vehicles, nuclear energy, soldering and brazing, water purification, and the food industry, again, because of its antibiotic principles. And then, of course, jewelry. One of the interesting things about modern society is most people do not put a lot of emphasis on having that fine set of silverware for entertaining. I think that for most of my generation, I'm a boomer, and our parents, their one of their goals was to have a silver coffee service, tea service, and a full setting of 8 place settings of silverware, so that when they entertained, they could put out the fine silver. I remember as a young child when mom would have parties, the day before, I'd be polishing the silver. So it that sort of entertaining style has really gone out of favor. So very few people even have fine silver, much less put out fine silver when they entertain. We have gone to a much more relaxed kind of social feeling when we entertain people, and putting out the fine china and the silverware just doesn't happen. So what that means is there isn't a demand really for fine silverware, and a lot of folks collect that old silverware and are selling it off to be recycled for the sterling silver and such. We could spend a long time talking about how to determine if something is sterling silver, what the markings mean. There's lots of videos out there on that. So if you're really interested, I would encourage you to go on YouTube and look for some of those discussions about silver and how to determine sterling silver and what the marks mean, and how much silver that really is. So let's see who's joined us while we've been talking about silver, and what kind of comments have y'all had going on about silver. Oh, let's see. Where are we? I'm coming up here to see where we. Uh, let's see. We had Mike's Meltdown joined the house shortly after I got started. Welcome, Mike. Great to have you here. Yeah, Richard, I am looking a little bit shiny up there. Again, we had some last minute alterations to the studio here, and the lighting is different, and I'm even using a completely different camera than what I normally do. So yeah, things are a tad bit different. And okay, Roger confirmed that the sound's okay, but a little bit off. Yeah, again, things are a little bit different today. Hopefully, I'll get all back to normal next week. Let's see. Let's see. What do we got going on? We've got Matthew in the house. David File, did I say hello yet? If I didn't, hello, welcome. Great to have you here. La 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 la. Sixth Street Garage is in the house. Welcome, welcome. All right, so here we go. Richard Halbert is saying that he loved the market drop. He put 10K into his account, and he's going to wait for it to come back up, and he'll be patient and get a nice return. Yep, there you go. E-Waste Jill is in the house. Welcome. Ed Weber's in the house. Ba, 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 ba. Da, da, da. I'm looking for silver comments here. Oh, yeah, Roger's commenting on silver as um, as a medicinal. And if you take colloidal silver daily, it will turn your skin blue. So yeah, don't do that unless you want to be part of the Blue Man Group, I guess. you know, it's like anything, right? Too much of anything is not going to be good for you. Um, yep, that's a good point too. The Let's see, this is Al Earworm. Welcome, great to have you. Or is that AI earworm? That may be AI earworm. Let's see. Oddly, that's why I use brass on doorknobs and handles because copper is antibacterial as well. Brass is cheaper than copper. Yeah, very good point. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why some of that material was used in the past, whether it was by accident or on purpose because of its antibacterial purposes. Let's see. Homer's Reluctant Odyssey. Great to have you here. We get so much of that old silver here at the yard. Yeah. Yeah, because you've got sort of this transfer of wealth going on where as older generations pass on, like our parents who had silver and silverware, they pass it on to the younger generations who, they're like, well, I'm never going to use this, so why am I keeping it? And so then they get rid of it. They sell it off to the scrap yards or to other refiners. Let's see. I'm looking for any other comment. Oh, here we are. Ed Weber says that during the old days, people would drop a silver dollar in their milk cans and it would keep their milk from going bad. I did not know that. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for sharing that. I was not aware of that. So that's pretty interesting. Makes a certain amount of sense. Sense, huh? Get it? Sense? Oh, man. Yeah, Richard. I don't know if you've seen the video that Triple Nine Dusan did on oscillators, but I tell you what, yeah, they're very fiddly to try to do it. If he tried to break them open, cut them open, snip them open, so that he wasn't consuming a lot of acid just to get through that outer shell and into the silver. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out because that was a really good video. And man, when I saw that one, that's when I decided, yeah, I'm not keeping oscillators anymore. Maybe if they've got a lot of visible gold on them, I might keep it. But yeah, that those the silver in the oscillators, yeah, probably, especially for a small time operation, probably not worth it. Okay, well, that was a fun discussion on silver. And we're going to talk some more about silver near the end of the show when we get into our gold to silver ratio discussion. But first, it's time for our safety uh, message for today. And our safety message for today is um, boots. Our footwear, very important part of our PPE, and it is something that some people take very seriously. Some other people don't take very seriously. We're going to talk a little bit here about footwear. Now, first, let's talk about what is not considered safety footwear. Um, Yeah, we've all seen some scrappers out there wearing these ugly things. And, other than the fact that maybe they're comfortable, that's not going to do you any good. Um, for the female scrappers out there, even though these are boots, these huge lugs, which I don't know how women walk in these things, but yeah, that's not going to do you any good. And of course, fashion footwear, even if it's a boot and the high heels and everything, yeah, that's not going to do you any good. You've got your beat up sneakers, and there's see a lot of folks out there wearing beat up sneakers. Might even have holes in them. They might be flopping around. They're held together with duct tape. And I get it. Some people are on the, they're going their finances are really on the edge, and so they got to do with what they got to do. But trust me, this old tennis shoe is not going to do you any good at all if you drop something heavy on your foot or you step on a nail. And there's a reason why we talk about safety shoes for what they do. Our safety shoes are intended to have multiple lines of protection for our feet. The obvious thing that we think about are the puncture wounds and the crushing injuries. So you want good hard soles, even some where the I believe it's called the bottom part of the shoe, the sole is made with Kevlar or steel, something to prevent nails from getting up through there and sticking you. You also want, if you can, the steel toe shoes so that if something falls or rolls onto your foot, you have a better chance of protecting your digits. Now, I know that there are going to be some people out there that will, they will tell these horror stories of, oh, well, this I beam fell on the guy's foot and the steel toe crushed in such a way that it cut his toes off. And okay, let's get realistic here. If an I beam falls on your foot, you're in trouble anyway. So the steel toes are not intended to protect your foot from I beams, falling on your feet. It's when that high pressure cylinder rolls down, slips off the rack and hits your foot. Other heavy objects roll off and hit your foot. There are some things that you're just never going to have any protection that's good enough. So you're mitigating the more frequent potential damage that could happen to your feet. Now, a lot of people will wear this kind of shoe here, where it's a technically, they would call it a safety shoe, but here's the problem. You see this ankle or the lack of ankle support? That is a problem because one of the things that you want your safety shoes to do is to help support your ankles so that you don't twist an ankle, especially if you're in rough terrain, like a lot of construction sites and places where you're picking up scrap material. You need that ankle support to help you from twisting ankle type injuries. So this kind of this kind of shoe, even though it might have a good tread and look like a safety shoe, is not exactly the kind of thing that you want to be wearing. Now, it's better than nothing, of course, and it's certainly better than flip flops or any of those sorts of shoes. But they're not as good as, say, a boot that has good ankle coverage that comes up around the ankle and well supports you. The other thing that your shoe is supposed to do is prevent slip and fall injuries. So you want to make sure that you have a reasonable tread, excuse me, in order to help prevent slip and fall type injuries. And you don't want too high of a heel. This one might actually be a bit much. A lower heel, like you see on this boot or on this boot, is actually preferred than something this pronounced. Now, there's a reason why you want some heel, both for support, but also for ladder safety. When you're going up and down on a ladder, this little bit of heel here, right there, the ladder rung you can feel your foot on that, and you'll know that you're firmly on the ladder. Now, when it's this big, it could get caught up and, be more possibly trip you rather than help you. But you do need to have some heel here, especially if you're going up and down ladders, because it will help you know where your foot is on the ladder from the feel. And then there's also the support that it gives you. The other thing that boots or safety shoes should help you with is keeping your feet dry or preventing chemical exposure. So these Waterproof boots have their application as a safety shoe as well. If you are frequently working in muddy, wet conditions, you want something that'll help keep your feet dry. And if you are operating in a chemical environment, then you absolutely need something that's going to be able to give your feet protection against chemical spills. So you definitely need to think about what the shoe is relative to your work environment and be wearing the appropriate type of safety shoe for the environment that you're working in. A lot of times, scrappers are picking stuff up in and around junk piles where you have the potential for biting insects and creatures. So there's another reason why you want something with a little bit of, leather or other protection so that you won't necessarily get bit or scratched by the nasties that are out there. Now, it would be inappropriate to talk about puncture wounds without, mentioning the fact that sometimes even with the best safety shoes on, a nail or some sharp object could get through the shoe, whether it's up through the bottom or in through the side. If you get a puncture wound, it's best to, make sure that you get a tetanus shot. If you haven't had a tetanus booster for a while, it's worth talking to your healthcare provider, especially if you're in the scrap and recycling business. And make sure you just ask the question, hey, how often should I be getting a tetanus booster? And for folks like us, it's a good idea to know when we had our last tetanus booster because we are prone to puncture and other kind of wounds that can increase our risk for tetanus exposure. So make sure that you if you get a puncture wound, that you seek appropriate medical attention, which could include getting a tetanus booster as well as just cleaning the wound. Now, if it's a nail that goes up into your foot, they're not going to necessarily, run a cleaning swab through your foot, but you want to make sure that you clean it as best you can. And then, of course, if you get bit by something, you use appropriate first aid for what you may have gotten bit from. One of the things that you want to avoid doing is don't take that boot off right away if you're going to go to get medical treatment because your foot could swell up and then you may not be able to get the boot back on. So little things like that. Oh, let's see. Anything else on boots or safety that I may have forgotten? Let's see. Let's go over to our comments section. Frequently, you all come up with some really good pointers on the things I'm talking about. So let's go back. All righty. I think this is where we left off. AI earworm. Did you get started with e-waste because your yard takes it? Mine doesn't. I've personally I've been interested in electronic scrap for many years, long before I was even doing it as a business or a hobby. So for me, it was just just to me seemed like something that was interesting that I got into. But it'll be interesting to see what other folks have to say about it. Let's see. Mike's meltdown was talking about the silver again. Altec, one of the other guys did a video on the crystal, I'm sure it means crystal oscillators, and they just soaked the unopened cans in nitric. It worked. Okay, interesting. I'll try to track that one down. Yeah, you want to check your old solder rolls because yeah, there's silver in there. Yep. Let's see. Very good point, Richard. Don't leave sharp stuff where you walk or stand. Cleanliness is a really important issue. In fact, I could probably talk about that as a safety discussion all on its own sometime. housekeeping and the importance of good housekeeping or shopkeeping, if you will. Everyday sellers, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Watching on the big screen while tearing down hard drives. So you won't be able to type much, but that's okay. And the worst part is my big ugly mug is going to be even bigger and uglier. Oh man. Okay, so Solers is saying that she has steel cap trainers. For those of you who aren't familiar, a lot of Europeans, when they say trainers, they're talking about running shoes, or what here in America we'd call sneakers, tennis shoes. No ankle support there. I actually find all my steel capped wear really heavy. Well, yeah, it's got steel in it. Certainly, big heavy boots are going to be a lot heavier than your trainers, your running shoes, and they're supposed to be. Let's see. Mike's meltdown says that the soles of his sneakers are really good for picking up stray screws. Yep, been there, done that. Richard saying that he worked as a welder for 20 years and he just had to replace the laces. You don't know how well you dance to. I worked as a welder for 20 years. I just had to replace the laces. Brother, you don't know how well you dance to. Oh, okay. Till you get a drop of red hot slag hit your foot. Yep, that would be seriously ouchy. Seriously ouchy. Roger at CU scrapping 3 years ago, stomping down round rolls of farmer's fencing so I could fit more in the truck. Had a stray wire go through my shoe, foot and all. Cost him 3 days in the hospital with sepsis. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, Roger, that is rough. I vaguely remember you talking about that. That's how long we've been doing this, isn't it, Roger? That I remember you talking about that ordeal with the wire going through your foot and sepsis. Let's see. Richard saying that tetanus lasts for 10 years and he gets his every 5. Okay, that's good to know. Good data point there. E-Waste Joe wants to know how many scars Richard has on his feet. Ed Weber says he loves his Keen composite toe reinforced sole waterproof work safety boots. He wears them year round. So if you're looking for some new boots, check out Keen. I'm going to write that down. I don't need any new boots right away, but I will write that down because it might be worth recommending to folks. I hesitate to recommend work boots to people because there's so many nuances to them. Comfort of the fit, how secure they are, how many, the different sizes, what they do. But I'll look at Keen and see what they have to offer. Roger says safety always. Yep. Plain Scrapper, welcome. Great to have you here again. I do need to get a replacement steel toe work boots. My last pair fell apart at the scrapyard. I played the part of the Lodo scrapper that day. Yeah. Um, it's when I was in the Navy, I had one of my tours of duty. I was what they called a main propulsion assistant. So I was responsible for the gas turbine engines on the ship, and of course, all the sailors that were maintaining and running those. And one time we had a fuel oil leak, and I was in this compartment. There was about I don't know, maybe a foot of fuel oil sloshing around, and my boondockers, the steel-toed boots that we would wear aboard ship, just became soaked, saturated with fuel oil. Now, this was a small ship. We didn't have a store of supplies on board. So, it was miserable for a couple of weeks until we pulled into an African port, and there was a tender nearby, so we were able to. I was able to get some new boots, new boondockers, and I ended up trading those fuel oil soaked boondockers for a hand carved chess set. But that was a long time ago when we would pull into some, because we were on a small Navy ship and we frequently went into some really small ports that the big ships couldn't get into. And you did a lot of trading with people back then. Let's see. Let's see. William is saying, with scrap during the '08 bust with housing, I had to find a way to feed my family. Scrapping was the way and turned it into a bigger business than construction. Oh, hey, congratulations. I'm glad you were able to make that shift. It's amazing that what we can do as humans when we're forced to do it, when situations turn bad for us. We are a very resilient uh, species when it comes to that. Let's see. Oh, here's a really good comment. I worked in a bakery and a kitchen for a while. Burma has nice casual steel-toed sneakers with a steel shank inside. I really enjoyed the support. That's a really good point. The I was saying earlier where the shoe needs to match what it is you're doing. And that's, when you're in the food service industry, you're really worried about slip and fall injuries on oily things. And so there's a whole different kind of shoe that you wear in the restaurant industry than you would necessarily wear around a scrapyard. But yeah, good shoes there. My wife uh, has done some commercial work in the kitchens, and I get it. Uh, All righty, let's see. We got to get moving here. We got a lot of good comments about safety. Boy, howdy, this really generated a lot of good comments. So, and let's see, I want to say hi to Brian, Brian Sheldon. Welcome. Um I love my Red Wings. Started in Florida with them. Continue now in North Carolina. Yeah, Red Wings are good boots, definitely. Okay, so let's get on to our industrial metal today because we've really got. I'm running out of time here. So our industrial metal today is aluminum, and it it has things aren't good on the aluminum front. Let's call it for what it is. Here's the trading economics chart for aluminum. This is the 1 year chart. We're going to call up the candlesticks real quick here, and we're going to go in here to this later period, zoom in here. You can see that aluminum, as far back as January, had some ups and downs going on here. And then it starts dropping off and it's dropping and it's trying to pull up a little bit here, but just not a lot of goodness going on in the aluminum market right now. Let's go all the way back out for the year, get the line. Oops, I hate when it does that. Get the line chart going again. The folks at Trading Economics are saying that aluminum futures fell below 2,400 per pound. Let's see, holding most of the sell off at the bottom of the 8 month low. Uh, Tracking the bearish momentum for base metals on the international exchanges as a trade war with the US and China hurt the outlook. Yeah. But the other piece of this is that in addition to all the tariff stuff that's going on, we knew that aluminum was having some challenges anyway because of the global supply. We had been talking even before the tariffs about how the mines and the smelters were making more aluminum than the world was needing, so that was driving prices down as well. So we've got this double whammy going on with aluminum where Primary aluminum is being produced, secondary aluminum being produced at levels that the industry is not, isn't consuming. So you don't have necessarily a shortage. And when you look at the supply demand numbers, you got more supply than you have demand. Prices are going to keep going down. And let's see, what does the forecast look like here? Oh yeah. So if we look at what the trading economics folks are showing for the forecast, we're seeing that aluminum is going to drop off again over the next quarter and year. So, what does that mean for us in the scrapping world? Well, it means just move your aluminum. Okay. Um, I don't know what value there would be in hoarding aluminum. You'd have to hold it for a long time before you see it turn around and start coming back up again. So my suggestion is just keep selling your aluminum. Whatever quantity you normally take it to the scrapyard in, whether it's a bin full or a truck full, whatever it is that you're normally doing, just keep doing it. I mean, it's a cash flow metal, and don't get upset if prices go down because that's probably what's going to happen. You might be able to do a little better if you clean up your aluminum, because if it's dirty aluminum, or depending upon where you're from, ironing aluminum, breakage, whatever your terms are, you're not going to get as much money as if it's nice, clean aluminum. And then again, also know, does your yard have a preference for sheet or cast? Do they Are they sophisticated enough that they're actually looking at the type of alloy that you're selling to them? So keep a close eye on that. But just sell your aluminum, right? I mean, just sell it. The one place where, at least here in the United States, where we have some issues is in aluminum cans. We just do a terrible job in the United States of recycling our aluminum cans. And because aluminum cans, it's almost a cyclical industry where you turn in aluminum cans, your yards keep them separate as aluminum cans. They go to places that melt them down and reuse them as aluminum cans. I have seen the numbers that say anywhere from 30 to 90 days from when you drop off that aluminum can at a recycling yard to when it's a new aluminum can. But here in the US, we don't do a very good job of keeping those cans in circulation. So collect your cans, keep them in circulation, sell your aluminum, try to get it as clean as you can so you get the most money you can, but really don't expect to make anything. Don't expect to make yourself rich off of aluminum. You might be able to find some tricks here and there to get some more out of it, but the future for aluminum is not looking real good right now. Uh, and I mean, it's a major industrial metal. So as industries deal with all of the complexities of tariff wars and trade wars and such, yeah, it's going to be rough for a while. Oh, let's see. What do you all have to say about the aluminum market? Ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, Mr. Matthews joined the game. Ian, great to have you here. Uh, Ian says that he can guarantee that anything dropped on the steel toe cap boots lands on the bridge and not on the shoes. Yeah, well, Ian, in your case, that's just, that's the scrap gods getting their revenge. So, what can I say? Uh, Hello to, all right, let me see. Cosmini per rain. Cosmin per rain. Cosmin per rain. Ram. Man, I am destroying that one. I am sorry. I'm destroying the name. I apologize, but welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Uh, let's see. Aluminum, aluminum, aluminum. So Richard is saying that he has buckets and buckets at all levels. He doesn't worry about it. The prices will stabilize. He doesn't need to turn it in, so he'll just hold it. Yeah, that's the thing. If you don't need the money and you've got the room to store it, then yeah, store it. Wait for things to turn around. And Plain Scrapper is saying he just hauled in his aluminum stock. Apparently, his yard's contracts forced them to hold the prices where they were before the downturn. And okay, cool. So that's a very good point, Plain Scrapper. Your yard will have entered, most big yards have contracts with mills and plants and stuff that they have to satisfy. And that may cause them to artificially raise or lower prices, without tracking the market necessarily because of conditions in their contract. So it's very important that you pay attention to your yard, and don't be afraid to call your yard and ask what's going on with prices and where things, that kind of stuff. Because that can be different than what the broader market is doing, depending on your yard and their situation. Okay, let's see what else do we have going on here. Yeah, used beverage cans. Um, I figured that's what you meant. UBC, used beverage cans. Let's see. And William is saying more on a constant, serious aluminum and low grade boards. It's abundant. Yep. Keep them moving. It's like that old Western song about keeping your cattle moving, keeping your scrap moving. Uh, bu- 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 and folks talking about the size of their shed. I don't know, why is it that scrappers got to talk about? They're always comparing the size of the hammer, the size of their screwdriver, the size of their shed. Oh my! Okay, I got it right the second time. Okay, now I just got to remember what I said the second time. Let's see. Yeah, Brian, that's I know some yards do that, and I don't get it. I don't understand why some yards do that because the aluminum is. I mean, in the one sense, aluminum is aluminum, right? But then there are other yards that are very careful about keeping the particular types of aluminum separate. So again, every yard's going to be different, and sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's not a good thing. So. Uh, ba, 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 ba. All righty. Well, and what's that? Let's see. William says, let's talk about upgrading tools and equipment and how to go about it. I'll put that down as a topic. I will put that down as a topic. I'm writing it right now. Tool upgrades, and we'll think about where to fit that into the discussions at some point. You betcha. Thank you for the recommendation. Why did aluminum peak in February of 2022? Let's see. That's February of 2020. I'd have to go back and try to figure that one out. Look at historical events that were going on and such. It could be. Let's see. We were coming out of COVID, so things were building. Markets were recovering, and so demand signals were high. So it could have just been a confluence of various signals that led to that peak in February of 2022. Okay, now let's spend a little bit of time now talking about the gold to silver ratio. So, to do that, we're going to go back to the APMEX chart and we're going to look at the 1 year. This is the 1 year silver price, but we're going to go down here. One of the things I like about the AppMex website is you can go look at the gold to silver ratio right there. Now, in the simplest sense, the gold to silver ratio is uh, how many ounces of silver does it take to get an ounce of gold? So you take the spot price of gold divided by the spot price of silver, and you've got the gold to silver ratio. There are people that trade based on that ratio. The sort of the general thought is that when the gold to silver ratio is very high, say over 80, it's a good time to buy silver. And you get that silver because silver is the argument is that silver is depressed relative to the price of the gold. So you buy up a bunch of silver. And then when the gold to silver ratio goes back to a lower number, say something below 50, then you would sell that silver and use the money to buy gold. Or if you had the ability to, you would just trade in those ounces of silver for ounces of gold. And there are precious metals traders who, they do that consistently, and that's the way they keep growing their portfolio or making their money. And there used to be it used to be that you would look at the threshold of 40 for when you would buy one versus the other. But as you're going to see right here, we're going to look at the gold to silver ratio going all the way back to the mid 90s. And you can see if we look at a line at the 40 level, well, we haven't been below 40 for a long time. So if you were waiting for a threshold of 40 to buy gold instead of silver, you'd be waiting a long time. So there's the that number then became 50, but that's still, you're talking about you'd be you wouldn't have bought under the 50 category. The last time that we crossed that threshold was what, back here in 2011 going into 2012. So there are more sophisticated models now in how to use the gold silver ratio, but you'd have to be a technical trader to fully appreciate those signals. And I'm not a technical trader. I'm not going to try to teach people how to be technical traders. Well, because one, I'm not. And it can be very dangerous to get into technical trading unless you have really spent some time learning it. So let's also go back and think about when we were talking about silver being a industrial metal as well as a hedge metal. So you have this argument that says when there's a lot of economic turmoil, investors go to safe havens, so they buy gold and silver. And so the argument is that the first thing investors will start buying is gold. That'll drive the price of gold up. And as the price of gold goes up, it should raise the gold to silver ratio. That's why you're buying that silver, because then people in the silver market start saying, well, I can't afford gold, so I'm going to start buying silver. That'll drive the price of silver up, which will decrease the ratio. And then you can uh, switch your investment around. But because silver is also an industrial metal, when there's economic turmoil, the industrial uses, which we saw make up about 50% of the demand signal, that can drop way off, which would drive the prices down beyond just the investment tracking of the silver. So I'm not a big fan of, and I do not use the gold to silver ratio when I am looking to buy and sell gold and silver. Um, for me, it's I want a certain amount of silver, a certain amount of gold, and I just look for the prices to be in an area where I'm comfortable buying and selling them. If you are a technical trader in the precious metals market, go for it. It's not my place to, say one thing or the other because that's not what I do. But I do get questions every now and then from folks about, what is how to use the gold to silver ratio. So that's why I thought that it would be a good thing for us to just, bring some exposure to and talk about. One thing I will point out is, you can see that right here, the gold to silver ratio. Oops, let's draw the arrow like this. You can see we had this huge peak in the gold to silver ratio, but you can see all the volatility that's going on with the gold to silver ratio right now. So, hopefully that answers the question about what it is and how to use it. The general thing is when it's really high, buy silver. When it's really low, buy gold or sell your silver to buy gold. Um, but how low do you want it to go before you make that decision? That's the one that's a little bit kind of iffy these days. Well, look, folks, it is time for us to head across the pond. So, if you have autoplay enabled, don't worry. As soon as I end this stream, you will be redirected to Ireland, where we will join our good friend Scrapping Irish. You never know who's going to come up on his panel. You never know where the discussion might go. We might go into more detail about stuff we've been talking about. We may have completely new subjects introduced. It's always a lot of fun and a very interesting time. So let's head on over to Ireland and see what's going on.